Hello, basketball coaches and basketball players. My name is Basketball Coach Allen, and today I'm going to talk to you about how you can use basketball plays to actually teach your team how to run on the basketball court. So, there's a lot of coaches, Gannon Baker is one of them, who says that you shouldn't really be running basketball plays at a young age group. I disagree. Now, the reason for this is because, well, let's face it, first off, later on down the road, they are going to be running plays and they need to get used to the fact that there is structure on the basketball court. Secondly, you can actually teach your team a ton with basic basketball plays. Plays like the 5-out motion is a very simple play that the Raptors are actually using this year a ton, but it's a simple play that can teach your team how to move while not actually running any spectacular, crazy basketball plays. So, with a 5-out motion, there's three movements, and that's three movements that are going to be basically all the way through those players' basketball careers. And that is the pass and cut, when they're passing and then cutting towards the rim, because when you pass the ball, you want to go do something. You don't just want to stand still in one place. Second is the pass and screen away, where you're setting a screen for another player after you pass that ball away. And then, on top of that, is the pass and screen for the player you pass to, which again is another motion or another thing that you would do, another skill that you would do on the court, no matter what age you're at. Now, I understand that there are some leagues in Europe that don't allow screening or pick and rolls or anything like that up until like high school, like 13, 14 years old. I don't understand how they can do that. Screening is a big part of the game. However, I'm not going to be making a big argument for it. Today I'm going to show you a couple of plays that you can run, the 5-out and 3-out 2-in motion offenses that you can run at any age group that can teach them how to work on the basketball court. Let's get down to the clipboard and let's check these out. Okay, so first off, we're running a 5-out motion. So again, like I was mentioning, if player 1 passes the ball away, he can go and set a screen for player 2, he can go and set a screen away for player 3, or he can cut towards the rim. One of those three options, which are three options that would be in every single basketball play that you can think of other than the dribble handoff. Now, going from there, if player 1 was to set a screen for player 2 is going to use that screen. Player 1 could pop if player 2 went under. He could have popped, and this could have been a 3-point shot depending on the age, or player 1 could roll towards the basket, where if he does that, that could be an easy layup. Going from there, with the 5-out, there's 5 spots on the court that need to be filled, mostly all the time. So if player 1 was to roll towards the basket, player 4 needs to fill, and then player 1 needs to pop out. Again, if player 2 passed over to player 3, player 2 screened away, this would be player 4 popping towards that spot, and player 2 could roll off and give player 3 two different options to then get baskets from. Now, if this was to happen, obviously there's a spot open, player 1 needs to fill, and player 2 would then fill out towards that far side. Now, if you were to run the 5-out motion and also run the shell drill, which is a drill that teaches the defense how to move on the court. So now, for example, player 3 has the ball. We would have player 3 right on his man. Player 5 would be one big step away. Player 1 would be one big step away. Those are being 1 passes away. Player 4 would be 2 big steps away. And player 2, red, he would be between 2 and 3 steps away, depending on if your league wants you or your coach wants you to be down in the middle of the key or just over towards the side. Personally, I prefer this option. Now, going from there, let's go over to a 3-out 2-in to see how that works itself. Okay, so now we're in the 3-out 2-in, and this is how I personally run the 3-out 2-in. So what I would start from here is to have player 1, he would go and pass over to player 3. Just as an example, he could have passed to player 2 as well. It would just be flipped. And what we would now have is player 1 cutting towards the rim, which is again an option that's going to be in most of our plays that we're ever going to run in our whole entire lives. And player 1 would cut. Of course, he might have been open. That would be an option. But player 4 is going to turn, and we're going to be now having player 4 setting a screen for player 1. Meanwhile, player 3 would be dribbling up towards the top, and player 1 would be popping out. Now, a couple of different things can happen here. Player 1 may have an open shot from the mid-range or 3-point line, but also we may have a switch, where if we do have a switch, we can have player 3 pass over to player 1 to get the ball down to player 4 because this is a massive mismatch. However, that just leads me to my next movement up top, is when we pass the ball off, we can also set a screen away, or we can now have player 2 think ahead, and we can have player 2 set a screen for player 3, and this could be a skip pass, which we don't normally want to do a skip pass, but with a mismatch, we don't want to do that anyways. We want to feed the post, but if this wasn't a mismatch, player 1 could take a one dribble quick over towards the right side, skip pass over to player 3, and this could be a long shot. Now, this is a riskier play, but personally, at the younger, like let's say 10 and under, I would have instead player 3 setting that screen away for player 2. Player 2 would then come to the ball to the point, and player 1 could pass up to player 2. Now, going from there, because player 1 passed the ball up to player 2, what he needs to do is to set a screen down and away for player 4, and player 4 is going to pop up. From there, player 4 could have a nice shot, or let's say he doesn't, and player 2 passed to player 3. Player 2 could then cut towards the rim and pop out, and this would be a dribble out, or he could set a screen away for player 4. Player 4 could pop up towards the top. Player 3 could pass him the ball for the long shot. What could happen now is player 3 could also drive towards the rim, and now if he was to drive towards the rim instead of screening away for player 5, he could now be possibly open for a layup, because now we could be having player 5 pop out, which would then leave player 3 possibly open along that right side to go in for that layup. Now again, because there's that spot open, and player 3, let's say, wasn't open for that layup, he is going to then fill that post, and now we have players on the outside along the perimeter. Now that 3-out 2-in is mostly a read and react type of offense. So I would not go ahead and teach a young team the 3-out 2-in motion right away. I would definitely teach them the 5-out because it's a lot simpler and easier to do, and it's still running the same basic offense of screening, passing, and cutting, which is moves that you're going to be using in game no matter what you're doing. Now, I hope that this video has helped you become a better basketball coach, and I hope it helps your team win more games. Anyways, I will see you guys again later on today for the second video of the day.